SaaS pricing pages are no longer this new thing. Having one doesn't differentiate you from the majority of your competitors any longer. So the time when we could sort of hack buyer psychology and make these big impacts by adjusting our pricing page are perhaps gone, and they're more like any other UX challenge where the goal is to meet the needs and expectations of the buyer as much as possible while driving the outcomes that you seek for your business. And so when it comes to best practices for pricing pages for SaaS businesses, it's all around creating that effective user experience that delivers those two objectives, those two goals. This podcast is brought to you by Blend, the HubSpot website agency. Your website is your most valuable marketing asset, and so it's crucial that you get it right. We're the specialist HubSpot website agency, helping businesses create effective, scalable websites that drive real results. See examples of our work and the impact we've delivered for businesses just like yours at blendb2b.com. So some of the best practices that I think apply more or less universally, although of course you've always got to look at your own pricing model, your own buyer, your own business to sort of adapt and adjust these. But broadly speaking, I think we always ought to prioritize clear, concise communication of the true pricing of our product. It's important that when people come to your pricing page, the information is easy to digest quickly and isn't hard work for people. And that's the same as more or less any other page on your website, in the sense that typography should be carefully considered. There should be room for things to breathe. Structure and layout should be intuitive, to some degree expected, so that people can act on the information quickly and easily. Where I think businesses can go wrong is by having pricing pages that are overcomplicated. Unfortunately, having too many pricing options or having highly complicated pricing information or inconsistently presented pricing information could be as ineffective as having no pricing at all. I hesitate to say it will harm your business, because I think there are still buyers that will persevere and use that information to extract what they need. But pages that are complicated, dense, difficult to work with, are in some ways on a par with not having pricing at all in terms of deterring buyer behavior, and the desired outcomes on those pages. Another pitfall to avoid is saying you've got pricing on your navigation and then not actually having pricing information on that page. I don't think there are buyers out there that like having to download pricing in a PDF guide, or navigating to a pricing page only to be told that pricing isn't available online and you've got to fill in a form and have a conversation. That approach is fine, but you can signpost it in an honest way that has more integrity to it, and buyers will respond better to your approach. If you've got a pricing page, then some other points to consider include keeping your feature table, if you have one, adjacent to your pricing table. A common pattern that we see is, pricing highlights are prioritized within a pricing table at the top of the page, and that's a great approach. But businesses tend to know when their buyers need to see the granular detail, and they respond by having a feature table. That's a great move, but I often see it separated from the pricing information by sometimes quite a lot of other additional content. Case studies, testimonials, proof points, etc. Valuable content, but not best placed between those two pieces of information, because a buyer is going to be using them both and cross-referencing them as they go about their decision. So pricing table next to feature table, please, followed up with anything else that you have to offer on the subject, be it proof points, testimonials, case studies, videos, etc. All great to have on the page. It's really important as well that price points are communicated clearly, and by that I mean buyers can understand what price they will pay now, what price they will pay next month, how that price will differ if they pay annually, how that price will differ if other variables that affect your pricing model are changed, number of seats, amount of consumption, etc. You've got to work to make this information accessible in an intuitive way right there. Otherwise, the price you present means little to the buyer. So pricing's got to be given clearly, and that is also impacted by the CTA that you place in that column alongside that price. Quite often see a variety of pricing models portrayed in pricing data, but with the same global CTA presented. Learn more, get started, try now. Problem is, those CTAs may not work in all pricing situations. So if you have a free package that's free forever, the take a trial CTA makes no sense whatsoever, because it sends the message that after a trial expires, the price is no longer free. A free tier should have a sign-up CTA, which gets the user into the platform at the free level. A entry-level tier should probably have a free trial or demo or talk to sales CTA, reflective of the fact that it's not available for free. And then maybe you can have an enterprise level tier where it is only have a conversation, talk to us about your requirements, but align the CTA to the price so that it's logical and it encourages action as opposed to deters it. You've got to reflect what your pricing model actually is. So I'm not going to say only show 3 if in reality you have 5. There has to be a balance struck between your business strategy and your website strategy when it comes to pricing pages. But given the devices, given the screen sizes that we typically use to make these types of decisions, between 3 and 5 pricing options is most user-friendly in the majority of cases. I've seen examples where pricing pages contain 7 or 8 pricing models side by side, and it's really hard to interact with and understand and find your place within that model. And the few that I've seen that go beyond that are really quite challenging to work with. One SaaS business I know that has a very, very complex product portfolio has addressed that problem by segmenting that pricing out. So you've got 2 axes of navigation, not just horizontal columns, but you've got pages and tabs, which I think is a necessary evil in that case. And if your pricing or product is that complicated, then as opposed to simply add more and more columns that will not work well for the visitor to your website, you've got to look at breaking that up into different pages. But as a rule, 3 to 5 is a sweet spot that you can usually optimize. Highlighting the most attractive or the best value for money option is a sensible choice. You may as well get buyers' eyes to go to that point first. Again, it's no longer the hack that it used to be, where you could get people to buy a product because you said it was the most popular in quite the same way as years gone by. But yes, by all means, show buyers what you think is the best value proposition. Also worthwhile naming your pricing tiers in as logical a way as you can, or at least in a way that correlates as you move up the pricing. I've seen good and bad examples of pricing pages where, the brands are really reaching when it comes to the labeling and naming of the pricing package, to the point where it actually works against them in terms of, you're asking buyers to identify themselves in your pricing tiers. And if you get that wrong, similar to the audience-based navigation challenge, you can find that buyers don't know where they belong in your pricing package. And it means that they've now got to use other information that may not be the best information to form that conclusion. So you can really do them a favor by communicating that clearly as well. As I mentioned earlier on, having other information on your pricing page is a good thing, certainly not a bad thing, as long as it's not positioned incorrectly, as long as it's not above and before information that's more critical to the task that the buyer is on the page to perform. So I'm in favor of pricing table first, feature table next in most cases, and then supporting information. Types of supporting information you could include are testimonials, proof points, case studies, frequently asked questions if you have them, videos that help to articulate your value proposition are a good thing to include here too. They'll probably be watched. Videos articulating your value proposition will probably be watched more on a pricing page than they would on your homepage in the majority of cases, given how buyers interact with websites. So it's worth considering placing them there. So yeah, supporting information of any kind is valuable, as long as it's organized appropriately. I think where pricing pages get a lot harder is where there's multiple variables. Seen one example in particular where they tackled this well, in the sense that every pricing tier had a slider where you could manipulate that variable and your price would update. When you're asking buyers to navigate to different parts of the page to adjust variables and then refer back to prices that may or may not have updated to reflect it, it's creating a lot of friction that's not going to help you to generate pipeline. So it's really worth thinking about how you present and how buyers interact with the variables that affect your pricing.